Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the 10 of PHP in DDCDP23, and today is part 3 of OOP we have been learning. So today the topic we are covering is Doctrine ORM, which is a very powerful database modeling and management API for PHP, and it basically is a lot of things which we will be studying. We will create two tables via the ORM code. These are categories and articles, and then we will relate them via the relationship. Then also we will create records and fetch records from these tables. So let's dive in. So in this on day 10 of DDCDP 23 in PHP we will be learning what we call something like maybe you have heard of it, Doctrine. And it's a massive project used for database interaction in PHP. Okay, so you can create entities, save them in the database, retrieve them via an API, and this is what Doctrine is. So as we have started to use Composer in our projects, what we can do is, if I go to the terminal, first let us go to the packages where the Doctrine has been mentioned. Packages, Doctrine. It is called ORM also, Doctrine ORM. ORM means Object Relational Mapping in PHP, for PHP. So we can just run this Composer require Doctrine ORM command. Composer require Doctrine ORM. So it will download it, and let us run this def. It has been downloaded. Now if I go to composer.json, you can see it has Doctrine ORM now. It will also need Symfony's cache, so let us download that as well. Symfony cache. This is Composer requires Symfony cache. So these two things are what we need initially, or maybe that's all we need for this package. So both things have been installed. The next thing is, just like in any database application, you need a connection. So we have been using connections for PDO, and in previous lecture we even created our own connection file, and we will just update this connection file as per the requirements of Doctrine ORM. So rather than and we will be using the same singleton file, so that the connection only persists once throughout our application. The first thing is we will create a constructor. So you can get back to the previous lecture for this connection.php file we had written, but we are adding extra stuff into it. So private function _construct, this is going to be the constructor for this class, and here we need to make two variables for now. The first one is maybe config. It's just a local variable, config, and here this step is very ORM setup. So as soon as you try to add it, ORM setup, this is setting up ORM. Okay, so Doctrine ORM setup will be added by your editor as use statement, and now you should know what these use statements are, right? And if I use 2 colons, what does this mean? Because it means that this is going to be a static method. Okay, now you know the basics of OOP. So if you use 2 dots with a class, what does this mean? You are accessing a static method, and the static method to use is create attribute metadata configuration. That's it. So it's a method like this, right? Next we are going to pass it 2 variables. This method is going to be, they are the first variable is the path where this file will be. So it's an array basically. The ORM system will run need to know the location of this connection file. So it's array dir name, and again I have taken this from the documentation for Doctrine, so you can refer to that as well. If you go to getting started section in the Doctrine documentation, you can get to this value. So here we will just use dir like this, and the second parameter is you can use is, and it is going to be true like this. Okay, and now you should also know what this path and isDiv mode is. What are these things? Anybody? What are they called in Object Oriented PHP? No, this path and colon and then is mode colon. We studied it yesterday. Named. Okay. So the first variable we have created is config ORM setup, and it is being included via the use statement here, and then the directory name, and we are going to pass __ dir. Is this clear? Okay, the second thing is we will create a connection array, just a simple array. We will call it connection, or anything you can call it. Okay, like this. Sorry, not an object, but array like this. Here we will add some variables, and this is for PDO, right? The driver we will be using is PDO. So DB name, sorry, and it is in DDEV. What is the database name? DB. The user is also DB. Password also is DB. And the host is DB as well. And what that, because Doctrine ORM can be used for a lot of databases, including Oracle and other famous database engines. So here the driver is, in our case, it should be, if somebody is using ORM for Oracle, so they will have to add relevant details here, but we are using PDO_MySQL, right? Okay, these two variables are what we needed. And the next thing is we will make a variable again of we'll call it con or whatever, and here the driver manager, this is a class. So as soon as I try to use it, your editor will add the use statement for it. This is Doctrine dbal driver manager, right? So then this again is what, and we will be using the get connection method. Even your editor will pop you for this. So get connection, and here we will pass this variable which we have created, the connection one. This one. So driver manager double colon get connection, and we will pass the connection array we have created here, right? Okay, one more thing. Here we will create a private variable, and for now we will make it entity manager. The name of the variable is or the property is entity manager. Okay, so this dot entity manager equals new entity manager. That's it. So as soon as I use entity manager, so it would have added that to the use as Doctrine ORM entity manager. Okay, this is just some setup. It will all be clear in a while. Okay, so here we will pass two parameters. What are they? This connection and this config. The first one is connection, and the second one is config. That's it. So what this entity manager will do, it will create a new instance of it, and it is being assigned to this entity.manager here. So this variable will be of type what? Entity manager. This. So the new entity manager class will create an instance of the entity manager, and it will be saved inside this variable or this property which is entity manager. So that's all we needed for getting the Doctrine setup. Is this clear? Okay, so since again you should get back to getters and setters yesterday. So we have set up this entity manager variable entity manager as a private property. So what should we need to access this connection from outside, this property from outside? Good. So we for now need a public function get entity manager, and it should return what? This dot entity manager. That's it, and the return should be entity manager. It's good enough to know that whatever is being returned of this method is entity manager. Is this clear? So if for example what is entity manager, we will get to know what it does in a while. But in case if I need the entity manager class, so what should I do? I will just access this property this method, and we'll be able to access this property which is actually the entity manager class. So that's all we needed for the connection. Now whenever I need to create an instance of this, I will just access the connection class and use get instance, and then we will use the get entity manager class for it. Okay, next thing is now in the yesterday we created a folder, or maybe in the src folder we will now create a folder and call it entity. In the src folder we have a new folder called entity. Here we will create, I will go back to the articles blog website we had, articles and categories. So first we will need to create an entity for the articles, okay, and then we will create it for categories, or maybe let us start from categories first. So I will create a new file and call it categories.php, or maybe category.php. Let us make it categories.php for now, or category.php is fine, singular is fine, okay. So it is going to be a PHP file, and what should be the namespace for this? Because the namespace for us is Drupal, so DDCDP, and then now we are inside the src entity folder, so it should be entity and the name of the class, which is category. Oh yeah, okay. Here we need to have class category, that's it. So this class basically will serve as the entity for ORM. And what is entity? You can call it a single record in the database which you fetch normally. It is converted into an object, and that object is called entity. And ORM, the system then reads this file, okay. So we will create a private int and $id. What does this question mark int mean? Yeah, so it can be either integer or null value. And similarly, what should be the second? So normally, for example, it's category name, string $name. So these are the two properties we need. Then the getters and setters. What are getters and setters? Because these are private, we need to have both the getters and setters. So public function get id. So what should it return? $, this and id, right? Similarly, to set it, what should we do? Set id. Maybe we don't need set id, but so it will be passed an id like this. So what should we set up? This dot id equals whatever is being passed to it, which is id, right? Similarly, we need now get name function method, or public function get name, and what should it return? $, this what name, name, like this. And what should be the setter for it? Set name, and it will be passed a parameter name, and it is not going to return anything, it will be just setting it up. Name, like this, that's it. So this is going to be the norm for you if you create private properties in your classes. So you should have the getters and setters methods also, so that you can access them from outside the class. Okay, this is now the normal class we created in the previous lecture as well. But to make things more interesting and readable by the Doctrine ORM system, we need to add some something called attributes. This is new in PHP 8 plus. It used to be doc blocks, but now they are called we can use attributes as well. So let us start adding attributes. And the attribute for this is just before the start of the class. This is class category, right? Here you will add attribute starts with hash outside the class, okay? Hash and then square brackets like this. And so we will call it ORM slash entity. ORM slash entity. But this ORM is going to be namespace, use Doctrine and it is going to be let me just quickly Doctrine getting started. We just need to this is all where I have taken this code from, okay? That's the place. That's the line. Use Doctrine ORM mapping as ORM. So you can, even if you have to use something a lot of times, so you can in PHP object oriented programming you can use it an alias for that use statement as well. So Doctrine ORM mapping as ORM. So if we use ORM here, it means these three things. We can use fully qualified use as well here, but to make things shorter we can have an alias for the use statements also. So at the start of the class we will use ORM slash entity. The next is same. ORM starts with the attribute starts with hash and then the square brackets. Here we will use ORM /tab table, and the table we are going to create is articles, okay? That's it. So what this is metadata. What is metadata? Anybody? Yes, data about the data. So this is all your data class, whatever. So this attribute means, these attributes means information about this class, which will be read by the Doctrine system. That's why we call it metadata. So let me repeat: ORM entity and then ORM table is going to be articles. So what this will do, the Doctrine system will create a table with this name for us. Okay, now let us come to the properties. First one is again how to write attributes like this. Inside the square brackets we'll use ORM slash ID. So what does this mean? This means this is going to be the primary key of the table. So this ID, this value signifies the primary key of the table. Similarly, what should be the data type of the column in the database? So again hash this ORM column, and the column is going to be of type integer. And the third one is I want to make it auto increment as well. So what is it going to be? Generated value. It should be generated value. So generated value means auto increment. So this is metadata for this property ID, right? Similarly, we will just use the rest of them will be, let me copy this one, and for name I will use string. Behind the scenes this string will be converted to varchar or vakar, whatever, but this is the common name. So maybe if somebody is using Oracle, there the column type can be different, but what Doctrine does is it lets us use a common word so that it is abstract word. On the backend it will be using its column name pertaining to the database system, whatever it is. Okay, so we added what? Outside the class ORM entity, ORM table is articles. Sorry, the table should be categories, not articles, because the class is category. It has ID and name, two columns, ID and name, that's it. Exactly with these property names, it will create a table in the database for us. So that's all we needed for this entity class. Is this clear? The next thing is we need a file, maybe in the root or anywhere. Maybe we create a file here. And we call it maybe update.php. Okay, this is just, you can call it anything. Okay, so here we will use some console runner applications or tools from the Doctrine. So Doctrine /ORM /tools /console /console runner, this one, right? The second one is, and one more thing, don't forget to include your autoloader from vendor autoload.php. This is very important. Okay, the next one is use Doctrine ORM tools console entity manager provider, this one, and then very single manager provider, that's it. These two things we needed, and this is just for one time use, so you can just go to documentation again and just include these ones. No, nothing to remember actually. Maybe if you save them in your text file, so you can reuse them everywhere. Okay, so now my question to you is, we have created the connection file here. Source, where was it? MySQL connection.php, this one. So how can I include that in this file? I need to include it. So con is equal to, we first need to use to path, because this is our own DDCDP, then MySQL, and then connection, that's it. So in the connection, and it is going to be a static method, the get connection or get instance. Which one is it? Let me it is get instance, get connection, no. So get instance is fine, get instance. Okay, so get instance. So what it will return, this will be the connection object, and then con and entity manager will be, this is the entity manager. That's why we can now access it. But rather than doing this, I need to run, because we have included the console runner class. So here we will use return like this, console runner, and it has the static method called run, this run, and in the run, this is what we have included, entity manager provider single this. So we will new it, create a new of this, and what should be passed to this? It should be passed the connection get entity manager. This is a bit tough, but using it 1 or 2 times you will just get used to it. Entity manager, sorry, it's double N, get entity manager, like this. That's it. So let us recap. We are requiring the vendor autoload, then use Doctrine ORM tools console runner, and use Doctrine ORM tools console entity manager this, and we are also including using the connection file we have done for ourselves. Then we are instantiating the class with get instance and saving it in the con. The con is now an instance, an object of the connection class. And remember, this was done using the singleton approach. Now we will be returning console runner, because we are including it here, and then the run method. In it we will be passing the new single manager provider, and it has its constructor which accepts the get entity manager or the entity manager instance actually. So that is what we are passing it. That's it. Now if we run this from, we will have to run whenever you see something like console, so it is going to be run from command prompt, from your terminal. Okay, so we'll come to the terminal, ddef.php, and the name of the file is update.php. okay, but afterwards this, if I ORM, I think setup, so let me just go to the documentation again. That's it. ORM schema tool update, this one. So ddef php update.php, because we are in the root of it, and ORM schema dash tool dash update. We are not going to run it immediately, because we will be using dash dump dash SQL at the end, because this command will run some SQL on the database. So prior to, let me zoom it in, prior to running this command, you should test it first that your SQL is good enough. Update it successfully, right? And if I refresh the page, we have the categories table now. So what this code has done, we got into some errors because of the code we had in the code base, but this is just, these are just 2 files. In the entity we have the category.php, and it has some metadata code in front of the class as well as in front of the properties. And in MySQL we have the connection with the Doctrine setup. So just running this code in update.php, we were able to create this table from code. So we haven't gone into PHP MyAdmin and created our table. In a very large application, for example, you can create such classes and then run this command update ORM schema tool update --force, for example. So it will create all the tables for you from PHP classes. This is just the one angle of it. Now you can see how we can go with adding content and retrieving content via these classes. So I will, in the root of the file, I will create two files. Maybe initially we need to add some. So new, we call it add category.php, right? So in order to add data, we need to use a few statements for entity manager. Entity manager class will do all the trick for us here. Okay. But prior to that, I just forgot to mention the relationship between, and maybe I will do it a bit later when we are adding the article. Okay, so here I will use Doctrine deval Doctrine, or just the auto load is fine, this auto load function, and we need the instance, this get entity manager instance. That's all we need. This auto load, the connection file, what was the name of the file? Add category. So here we will use auto load, and then what we need, the connection file, this connection file. Okay, and the category class also. This is entity and category.php. So how to use that? Use Rupak DDCDP entity category, right? These two things. Now we need to create a connection. And how to create a connection? Connection and get instance, and then get connection, and then entity manager, get connection, sorry, get connection, and then sorry, get connection, and then get entity manager. That's what we need. So this connection, we will call it entity manager now, entity manager now, like this. Okay, that's what we need for creating an entity. Now what is this saying?
It's like method changing, but we have to access the method which are inside the connection class.
This is this will return the connection, then this will return the
method.
Let us first use the this returns the instance, right? Then the instance returns connection, and let us check what the connection does. Get connection, it returns the instance, or maybe we are doing it extra. Get instance will also do it. Yeah, we will update the code, and then the entity manager. This is the entity manager. This is the entity manager. So where is the update? Add category. Okay. So get connection, and then what is it saying? Get entity manager, like this. Okay, this is probably working. Now we have the category file used in the use. So what we can do, category is equal to new what category. That's all the magic. Okay, here now category, we have set and get properties. If you remember, set id, get id. We are not going to use set id because it will be auto incremented for us, but set name will add the category. So set name, it will be passed, for example, sports, right? It will be pass sports, and then entity manager persist, and persist is passed an object, and which object is passed to it? Category, like this, and then entity manager flush, like this. Let us try running this code at category.php. So if I come to, where is it, the file we have, Beautiful launch, it is add category.php. Nothing happens because nothing is being shown in the code. But if I go to hopefully the database table, and so you can see a sports entry has been made. Have you seen any insert query? No, because all this Doctrine system is doing it for us. So what your role as a developer will be to include the entity manager class from the connection. Then you will just create a new instance of the category, the entity class you have created. This is your entity class. So you will just new it, add the relevant data via setters, and then run the entity manager persist method and pass the entity, and then the entity manager flush. Right? This is clear. So if in case I have to use add another one, education, and even we can use the same get id function. The print will use print the new category with id, and here we can use what, category get id. That's the beauty of using classes, entity classes and repository classes. So print the new category with id. So if I run it again, so what are you expecting to see? Education, the new category with id 2. Okay, and if I refresh the page, this is sports and education. Got it? Now let us quickly create the article content type, the article table as well. So from now on, even in your custom PHP coding or whatever, you won't be creating all the tables yourself in the MySQL database. What will you be doing? Creating entity classes, and the ORM system will, the Doctrine ORM system will read those classes and create those tables for you, right? And then it will have all the insert queries, update queries, even the fetching, everything will be automatic. Now let me just quickly create another class which will be called what? Persistent means persistence in programming normally means when you save something permanently. So you are saving it into the database. So that function does it for you. Article.php. Then next one is article.php. So here we will use the we will create the article code class. Sorry, if I just quickly copy this code to save some time and paste it here. So the name of the entity will be table will be articles. Sorry, the name of the table will be articles, and the class name will be article. Simple. Okay, the ID is the same, integer. The ID is the same, good. The name, this will be title, and it will be string. Then we should have description also here. So private question mark string description or detail, whatever, the article detail. So title detail, and it should be an ORM metadata. We should use this. Maybe if we use text, so it will be long text, something like this. Okay, so the title is integer, the name is string, the title is string, okay. The next is we can get ID with this, set ID with this, get name, we will make it change it to get title. So this will be title, and this will be set title, and this will be title. Getters and setters should be the normal thing for you now. Title, set title, get title, and I will copy these two and make it get detail, set detail, get detail, and set detail. Right? So probably this is all we needed, and one for status also. If you remember, we used to have status, but let us leave that for now to make things simple. This is actually the autocomplete for the. We never meant this. Okay, this is just the named argument. Okay, so get ID, set ID, get title, set title, get detail, set detail. Is this okay? So we have all these properties. One more thing, let us make it many to one relationship. What is many to one relationship? One article can be in many articles can be in one category. Many articles can be, for now I will give you assignment of many to many, but right now we are demoing many to one. So let me add one more thing here. So ORM, I will create one more variable here or property and make it private too, and it will be named category of type what? Category, right? But above it should serve as the, this is very important step, and then you can have any limited imagination of creating relationships in tables. Okay, so we'll use the attribute ORM / many. You can see these are a lot of these category types, the relationship types, but we will use many to one for now, because many articles can have one category for now. In this system, basically we are doing this. Article can have one category. So with one category there can be a lot of articles associated. So you can from this angle, this can be many and one is the category. So here we will use target entity, this one. Target entity is class category. We have created the entity class, and that's going to be the target entity. Okay, and the second parameter is inversed by. Here we will call it maybe articles for now. Okay, I will explain it, but for now this is going to be, the target entity is going to be the category class, because the relationship is via this. Inversed by articles. Inversed by articles means that in category class here I can create a parameter and call it articles. Simple. So this parameter will have all the articles associated with this category, and this is probably collection, type collection, but we will not use it for now. Okay, so we are in the article.php again, and we have created this inverse by articles. Okay, so it looks good. Now if I just run that command again, update.php, update -- first I will just check dump _SQL what changes will be. So it is saying create table articles. It is going to create the table article, integer int, auto increment, not null, all this, and even it is adding the foreign key category _ inside the article. Okay, so now it's time to run it. So we will run it with force. Incorrect form, convert TV articles, foreign key constraint is incorrectly formed. Okay, maybe we need to, it has created a table structure in this I think it has done it, but maybe we ran it twice or something like this. If you come to structure, so integer, the id, okay, the name is should be id, we should drop it. It is also integer. Let us quickly drop both the tables, because the name should not be integer, it should be id. Oh, thank you. Now structure, how to drop both the tables.
Select both that
Yes, okay. So if I come to each table, for example this one, name is integer column, int id, this is private int id and this autocomplete is actually causing issues, okay. And then this should also be type, sorry, this is name and this should be type. This should be type, and this should also be type. Let us quickly check it. Type is integer, type is string, name is categories. Okay, hopefully that update command will now work. First let us just check so it creates tables, the categories table and the articles table, and also the foreign keys. So let us run the force one. So database schema updated successfully. Now if we check it, so both tables, articles and categories have been created. If you go to the structure of categories, so ID and name, and if you go to, thank you Afaq for this correction, and then if you go to structure of articles, so we have this category underscore ID automatically created. We haven't created this field, but this is now referencing the category table, and it has this foreign key as well. Now if we just run the education category again once, /add category, so this is the first one. If you refresh the page, if we go to categories, so it will have education category, right? What is going to be the next step? We need to add articles now. We already are adding category, but now we need to add articles. So in the root, let me copy the add category file and paste it and change it to add article. Add dash article.php. In real world, this add should come from form. In your form action, you will be running this these add pages, right? But here we are just hard coding the entities, the data. So it will require the article. We will just change some of the code here, and then is equal to what it should be, new article, because now we have a class for articles, and it is going to be set title function. It should be this is our first article, and then the set detail. All these methods are coming from this article class, okay. You can have any article related methods there. So add article, this is our first article detail, that's it, right? Then entity manager persist. What should be persisted? This should be article now.
set title to set detail.
Set detail. This is set detail. Okay. So article, this is also article, and this is also article. and this is going to be article again. And if I just get title here, so what it should be, category get title. Oh yes, this is going to be article, right? So if I save it, it should be saving the article, but in a new category. So we are not adding the categories yet, because it has a, if you go to this article schema, we have created this junction, this relationship column, so it needs to be populated as well. So again, we should create, before persisting this entity manager article, we should create category again. Category is equal to new category class, and category name, set name equals, for example, sports. The first one is going to be in sports category, and we should include the category use also. Okay. So category is equal to new category, and category set name is equal to sports. Okay. The next thing is, if in article.php, I think we don't have a method to set the category. We do have this category, but we have no setter for category. So what we can do, we can quickly create a public function, set category, and it will be passed a category object, and this dot, look how important these setter methods are. This dot category equals what has been passed to it. That's it. So now in add article.php, we can persist entity manager persist what category. So it will save the category of sports, for example, and then article set category. What should be this object we have created of the category? $and category. That's it. Like this. Now we are persisting article also, and then the flash. So if I just run this page now, add article, what are you expecting? If things are fine, add article.php, and then about the article name is depreciated in article.43. Okay, cannot be null. What are we not setting? Article set category, article set title is, this is our title, set detail. Let me check what set title is. Have we set the title variable? String title, yes. String title. So get title, set title, and this. Okay, this is not name, this is title. Let me rerun the page. Name is depreciated on line 53. Yes, this dot detail. This is the disadvantage of copying and pasting. Okay, so the new category with ID, sorry, this is not category but article. This is our first article. This is the first article we have added. So if we go to the database table for articles, This is our first article, and the category ID is 5. Got it?
Yes.
And if we come to the categories, the category 5 is sports. Okay, this is clear. So we have not, if you remember, we had created a junction table, so many to many will serve the junction table, but right now it is one category per many articles, so this is serving us the records. So let us recap. We in the article.php we created all the properties and the getter and setter methods, and in the add article page we are just creating the new instance of that entity class, and then the entity manager persist. If you pass that object to the persist method of entity manager, it will save it. Okay, we can now okay, so let us recap for a while what actually we have done. Afaq, can you sum it up?
We have create a connection with the database.
Okay.
After that, we are creating tables and then adding data. For
Okay.
example, we have created tables, article, and category, and
Okay.
then we are creating classes for that, like article class and then category class, and we have used a getter setter method for that to add the data to the database.
Okay, so in short, our classes, entity classes are being read and tables are created for us. Secondly, we are not doing any custom insert queries, anything like that. We are just creating instances of the entity classes and just at the end running the persist method and passing that variable to the object, to the persist method of entity manager, and it saves the record for us. Okay, so this is a very powerful system, and it is also abstract kind of system. Like on the back end, even you can use Oracle database, for example, and you will be using the same code. Secondly, it's very powerful, secure, and industry standard using these Doctrine entity classes and then the insertion. Okay, we have one problem, and that will be the last thing, then we will get the class concluded. So we can now it will add this let me rerun this so you can see. If I rerun the page, let me change this to article. Okay, if I rerun this, so another sports category will be created for us and it will be saved here. This is not, it should not be the case. So firstly we will check if this category exists. If it does, then we won't create it, otherwise we will create the category. So let me delete this sports category again. Okay, it even says the advantage of foreign keys. It didn't let me delete this row. Why? Because this 6 is in, exactly, so it is in referred here, the 6th ID is being referred here. So first I will have to delete the record, and then if I go to categories, here I can now delete the, that's it. Okay, so first things first, and this again is, we haven't yet checked, this is just the insertion. I will just show you all the articles now in a very like 5 minutes, but here the logic is we should only do this stuff if it doesn't exist. So for that we will use an if statement like this. Okay, and entity manager, we have already get repository. Where is get repository? This one, and it is passed the class name. So for example, the class name now is category, so it should be category class name, class, that's it. And then find, there is a find method, find by what, just like where condition, this is, there is find by. So find by, it is passed, this method is passed an array, and the name of the column is name, and the value is we'll create this variable now, category. Okay, so cat equals, for example, sports. So if this means, if this is there, then else we will create the categories here. So if it is not there, we will create it and run the persist method also, like this. But if it is there, because we are checking it by the name, and it will be cat also, $sign cat. So if it exists, we will have article set category. So this category is going to be what? If this is true, it will be this category, which is fetches from the database. Otherwise, it will create this category. Is this clear? Okay, you can just change the logic, but that's what it is doing at the moment. Okay, now let me change the title. This is scientific article. So if I make it where is it? I will remove this code now. Okay, so category is equal to science. So first time this will create the science category. So if I refresh the page, so this is scientific article, and if I go to the database, so science has been added. Now let me just change the title of the article. This is second scientific article. So should it create the second science category, or it should skip it? It should skip it. If code is fine, it should not create the, cannot assign array to property in this. Okay. Online data name is equal to kate. Set name is cat. Line 58. Where is it? 58. What it is saying?
You cannot assign property array to the property.
Yeah, sorry. Set category. Let me read the error again. Cannot assign array to property entity article category of type okay, here we are. Category. Let me just dump this. Okay, sorry, there is one problem. I am using find by, so I needed to use find by 1 because it can fetch more than one record, so that's why the return value is find 1 by. So it will now fetch one record. That's a big mistake, so I will change it again to, that's why debugging is so important. This method will just fetch one record, that's why it won't be in an array, and the other one was using the array method, so the return value was array and it was being assigned to the that variable. So now if I just check add article, so the second scientific article has been added. If I add the third one, third scientific article, now let us check if the science has been added more than once. So it hasn't been added more than once, right? So if a category exists, it won't add it the second time, but if it doesn't, then it will create the category. So this is a very powerful system without writing a single SQL query. You just need to define entity classes and the insert queries will be done automatically. Okay, next we are able to enter data into the database into these two tables, and now we are going to fetch records. So I will create two files, or maybe one for now, and I will call it show articles .php, and then and again we need to have the autoloader, even the connection, rather all this code. This is what we need for now. What was the name of the file? Okay, this one. So use Drupal connection, the connection file we have created, then autoload, maybe autoload at the top of the page is fine too. Now connection, get connection, and get entity manager. So this is the entity manager. Here I need to entity manager, then there is get repository, and here you pass the name of the class you want to retrieve. So in our case it is going to be entity article, so you can use it here. Use Drupal DDCDP. Okay, sorry, I'm in another file, another project rather. My mistake, sorry. So we will create a file here, and I call it which one is it? Show articles articles.php. Okay, here the autoloader require vendor/autoload.php, and this line adds all the classes for us. Secondly, use Drupal / DDCDP / MySQL, and then the connection. Right, the next thing is we need to the entity class, so use Drupal DDCDP entity, and it is going to be article. We need article only, and we will create a connection. So connection is equal to, or maybe entity manager equals connection class, then get instance, and then get entity manager, and that's all we need. Okay, so this is now entity manager. It has, if you have it has the get repository. So each entity manager has a repository as well, and in it we pass the name of the class. So which class we should pass? Article. So it's article and class. This returns the name of the class, actually the double colon class. You will see it a lot in object oriented programming these days in PHP. Okay, so the next is, that's all we need, and it will be have find. So if I just use find all, what it will do, this is just like select all, so it will return all the records from this article database table, and I will save it in records, for example. Okay, if I dump it, dump records, and I run the show articles page, so you can see, anybody, what is this? These are the objects of class article. Okay, that's why 4 articles are being shown, but they are objects of article class. So it has these values, and these are private values. If I access ID or maybe title, so on for each records as $record. So what is every record? Anybody? This is second object, exactly. So if I access a record, for example title, do you think I can access it? The error shows has private visibility. It means we have created the get title method already, so that's it, and dot br. And also, even in your article.php, in case if you want to have some security measures while returning it, you can use the function here. So here you won't have to use all that HTML special cars and all that, right? So this is just, if I refresh the page, okay, print record. So all the titles are here. Select all from it, and just the array has been populated, and we have looped through. That's it. Is this clear? Yes. So you can view all the articles this way. This is for articles. The same you can do for categories. The next thing is we need to add something, or maybe if I just create another file and show categories, here I need to change the article to categories class, and here the article to category, and find all, and it has the git name property, if you remember, sorry, git name method. That's it. So if I change it to show categories, so education, sports and science, that's it. Okay, no SQL query, just this method, find all. And if you want to use it by ID, and now you know what get parameters are, so here what you can do is find by ID, or directly if you pass an ID, for example 3 or 2 or whatever, so it will fetch it by that ID directly. Because there is no value for, no, there is no value for categories 5. If we make it 5, and maybe you are right, it is not an array. So if I just 5, because an ID will always be the 5. Let me just check. If it is not working, then we will change it to yes. So it is just one record, and we can use print $ records get name. So sports. So if you have any get parameter like this, you can use that find method, and even the name and all that. Okay, the find by method, it has find by method also. Find by, so find by means it will be passed an array. So array of, for example, name is equal to this, this is equal to this, this is equal to this, all the where conditions are can be passed as array here. Okay, so that's what we can do. The next thing is we need to make a change. If I come to category.php, if I come to article.php, you remember the many to one relationship we had used. Remember the many to one relationship we had used, and this is category. So let me just copy it to the category page, category class, and here I will use the reverse relationship here. So what should be the reverse relationship? It should be one to many, because category is one and articles can be more than one in that category. The target entity is article, and in such cases you use mapped by, this mapped by, and here we can use what mapped by categories, like this. Articles, so mapped by categories, and here we can use articles here, article. So okay, just a guess, a question, rather it should be category, not categories. Okay, can you tell me what should be inside this articles property? in this category class?
So the articles.
All the articles associated with one category. Okay, so we should have a constructor in this because this is going to be more than one article, right? So it should be in the form of an array normally, and there is something called in the private function, public function underscore construct this dot articles, this should be articles, equals new array collection. So this array collection is array like structure in PHP object. So once this is initialized, this will be empty, but then we can set it up here. We are declaring it here, so no need for that. Is this clear now? The next thing is we should have a setter also. Let me think if we need to have. No, it will be maybe automatically set up for us. Yes, and we can make it collection. It is of type collection, and we need to include those as well here in the top of the. So array collection is already there, and then we have use doctrine common collections collection. Use doctrine common collections and collection. That's it. Okay, so let us recap. We have this is a reverse relationship, you can call it, from categories to articles. So the target entity is article and mapped by category, and then the collection of articles, and once this is initialized, this class, so this articles is populated, and we can have a get public function get what articles, and what it should return, $, this articles. Yes. So if I just call get articles, what should it return? The articles of this array. So if I come to get show categories now, okay, and we are getting the records. So record is of type. How can I find what should the type of records is? So if I just dump $, type of records, what should it output? Type of or instance of get instance of object PHP Okay, sorry, I was just not using this. Okay, so dump records instance of category. So what should it return? What should it return? If it is instance of it, it should return true. It's true. It means this is instance of the category class. So if it is the instance of the category class, what we can do, we have just created the get articles method, right? And if I dump it, what are you expecting? All the articles which are in the sports category. So this is that object, and if I loop over it, $ records, rather for each records get articles as article. And if I dump article now, what I will get? Individual article object, like this. So it has now just one article. If I add one more article to the sports category, let me add one. So add article. What's the name of the file? Add article.php. Add article. DDCDP add article.php. What's the name of the file? Add article.php. And let me change the category to sports. Why are we not getting it? Add article.php. And okay, this is the third article. If I refresh the page now, we have added this fourth one. And if I refresh this one, now we have two articles, right? This one and this one. And these are objects of article. You can see these are objects of article. So how can I get the title? Get title. Good. So if I get to the show categories, this is for each. So I will just print article arrow get article, the title, sorry, and with a BR. Let me get this off. Okay, so these are the two articles associated with that category. So if there it is, the category is coming, for example, in this ID is equal to cat ID is equal to whatever. So these are the articles, automatically they will be showing up. So how come we were able to get these two? We haven't used any junctions, nothing at all, just because of this in entity category.php. we have just used this line ORM one to many, the target entity article class, and mapped by category, and then this is that value, just this, and we are able to get the behind the scenes ORM, Doctrine ORM is doing all the stuff for us. But we just need to know all the methods and properties of and once you will get we will get inshallah into Symfony, even these classes will be generated for us automatically, and then in Drupal even those won't be needed most of the times. So this is that these are the steps we are covering so that you get into the grasp of all these techniques. So hopefully, if I just recap what we did today, we had some issues with the previous classes, so I had to delete those. If you get into the code, we have only created two classes. One is entity class with all the properties corresponding to the table it will generate for us, and just the getters and setter methods, that's all, nothing else. Similarly, for category, we have the same getters and setters and the properties. These are the two things. We started with the connection, some changes in the connection.php we already had, so we created a configuration of ORM setup, and we have used the ORM setup doctrine. Then a config variable and a connection, and then the driver manager is also something we have used here. So driver manager is passed, is the get connection method is passed this connection variable, and we have created the property entity manager, which is being set as new entity manager, which again we are using here. This entity manager is all doing a lot of stuff for us. For fetching records, it has a property of get repository, and then we can fetch records with this. So we just run this and set the variable as entity manager. We have created get connection, but this is not needed, this is redundant, this is doing it for us, the get instance. So on pages, for example, in update.php, because Doctrine ORM will read this information in this page, and we have to run this to get all the tables created for us or run schema changes. So again, this requires the autoload.php, the Doctrine console. This is on the Doctrine documentation, you can just copy it and paste it. So afterwards, we ran the command to update or create tables. That's it, tables were created. Then we created the add article and add categories. This is also very short code. We are just initializing the entities we have created and then using the persist method on the entity manager, which we are using here from the connection, and that's all. And similarly, for add categories, we are doing the same. We are creating the new instances of the category class and using the persist with it, and then the flush method. To fetch records, and this is so little code, we are using the connection again, because our entity manager is started with the connection. So each time we need entity manager, we just need the connection get instance, and then get repository. This is very important. In order to fetch records, you need to use entity manager get repository method, and you pass the name of the class, the entity class, and find all. So it returns you all the records, and then we just show them. So for example, if you have to redo your application which you have done in custom PHP, you will just create entity and a lot of entity classes, and then just update your schema. All the tables will be created for you. Then you will need to just call those or initialize those entity classes and use the entity manager's get repository to fetch records, and entity manager's persist method and flush to add those to the. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. See you next time.